Here with us. Thank you for being here with us. Our summer point in time, and Rand Clark will deliver that. We've got a legal update from Jeff Garcia. Then, of course, we'll go through our executive committee member updates around Link and Tessa. We'll get our normal heart update from Dante, and then open it up for public comment. Sound good? All right, let's start with Mayor Gray.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Jason Gray, Town of Castle Rock Mayor.
Great, thanks for being here.
Good morning, Paulo Diaz, CEO, Family Tree. I'll apologize in advance. I do have to leave about halfway through. Got a meeting with the city of Lakewood, and I'll be monitoring traffic to see how long it takes to get there.
That's good stuff. Appreciate you, Paulo.
Good morning, Darren Weekly, Sheriff of Douglas County.
Awesome, thanks for being here.
Good morning, Sophia Vigil, Director of Strategy and Impact with Metro Denver Homeless Initiative.
Great, thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Andrea Barnum, Arapahoe Douglas Works.
Good morning, Dan Marlowe, Help and Hope Center.
Jeff Garcia, County Attorney.
Caroline Frizzell, Douglas County Communication and Public Affairs.
Good morning, everybody. Ruby Richards, Director of the Department of Human Services.
Abe Layden, Commissioner.
Rand Clark, Douglas County Department of Community Services.
Good morning, everybody. Dante Young, Heart Navigator.
Wonderful. And we'll probably do this after your point in time, I think. Yeah, that sounds great. So moving on, we'll go to our Metro Denver Homeless Initiative update from Sophia. Sophia?
Beautiful. Thank you all. Thank you for having us here today. I'm excited to talk about two reports that we published earlier this year. One, the first ever Colorado State of Homelessness report in late April, and then in early June, our point in time count data from January of this year. And as I mentioned, my name is Sophia Vigil. I am filling in for our executive director, who is under the weather today, but sends his best regards your way. Beautiful. And yeah, so I'll just start with MDHI's mission, which is to lead and advance collaboration to end homelessness in Metro Denver. We do this through data-driven strategies. We really focus on what the data is telling us is working and isn't working to help promote this and move this forward. And truly our vision is to have a place where everyone has a safe, stable place to call home. We operate in a few different lanes throughout the community. I'll be focused today on the second two, which is the lead for the HMIS database, which is the Homeless Management Information System database. We serve as the lead for the entire state of Colorado. We also help conduct the point in time count, which happens annually every year, which provides a snapshot of homelessness on a single night. So 2 and 3 is our focus for today. So as I mentioned, we published the first ever Colorado State of Homelessness report in late April. This is in partnership with the state of Colorado and the other 3 continuums of care. MDHI served as the lead for the data and the lead for the content as well too. There's a QR code on the screen right now, and I can provide a link after, but this really dives into a dashboard that was created so you can update and filter by COC. At this point, since it was our first one, we were unable to filter by county, but that is our hope to then be able to drill down to county and hopefully city level in next year's report. So I'll talk through a few of the quick facts. I will say the quick facts that I'm providing today are from the HMIS system. This report relied heavily on that as the data source. We also did pull in data from the point in time count and from McKinney-Vento. As we know, we wanted to capture students experiencing homelessness as well too, because we know that that is something that is not captured by HMIS and the literal HUD definition for homelessness. So looking at Colorado as a whole, there are approximately almost 53,000 people that accessed services related to homelessness and housing. To put that in perspective, that's about half of Highlands Ranch population who was accessing services throughout the year of 2024, and again, this is a calendar year as well too. There were about 8,500 people who were experiencing homelessness for the first time across the state. About 16,000 were identified as chronically homeless, so they were experiencing homelessness for over a year or for 4 or more plus times over a 3-year period. Then we have about 3,400 veterans experiencing homelessness across our state. That's about 6% of that 52,000 population. We are doing a lot of work as a state, and NBHI as a region is committed to ensuring veterans homelessness is rare and brief. Douglas County was the first county in our region to achieve that state of where homelessness is rare and brief for our veteran population, and was the second county across the state to do so as well too, which we were able to highlight in the report. There were 28,000 who reported a disabling condition. This is self-reported data, but that's approximately half of the population who is reporting that. So that link between healthcare and housing is demonstrated through this data point. Let's see. So Metro Denver, drilling down a little bit to our region, about 35,000 people access services. That's about 65% of the state's population who's accessing services. On a monthly basis, we serve about 11,000, close to 12,000 people across our entire region. And we had over 6,000 people who were housed in 2024. And I will say that average holds true throughout the entire year of 2024. So that's what we see on a monthly basis throughout the year. Sometimes averages can look a little different, but that holds true for each month. And then why we're here to talk about Douglas County specifically, there are 402 people in 2024 that accessed homeless services. Again, this data is from HMIS, so thank you to the HEART team for entering this data. It helps provide a comprehensive picture of homelessness in our region. These are all people who were in Douglas County and were accessing services through HEART. About a third were newly homeless, or a quarter were about newly homeless. Chronically was also about a quarter as well. Almost 50-50 split between sheltered and unsheltered. Similarly with male and female, a majority falling between that 25 to 54 age range, which is larger, and 16% over the age of 55 plus, which we know across our region, across the nation, seniors and older adults are starting to experience homelessness at a higher rate. Great. Again, thank you to HEART for all of this data entry. Now I'll switch. That was heavily on HMIS. Now we'll look at the point in time count, which is the unduplicated count of people experiencing homelessness on a single night. The HUD defines literal homelessness as living in a place not meant for human habitation, emergency shelter, or some transitional housing programs. People at risk, such as those staying with family or friends or in a motel, are not included in this count. So we work closely in partnership with each of our counties to determine the needs and resources of each community. Each of our leads helps organize the count and survey and ensure it's compliant with HUD guidelines. There are slight variations within each community's approach just to better meet their needs and what resources they have available. And thank you. I don't see Tiffany today, but Tiffany will be serving as the lead for 2026. There are limitations to this data because there are variances in how it's conducted. The methodology can change from year over year, so we tend not to trend the data year over year, but it's still something that everyone does and looks at. And so just wanted to call that out, and we're hoping to lean more on the state of homelessness report and more real-time dashboards over time to create a better picture on an ongoing basis. So looking at our region, there was a slight increase from 2024. There were about 10,774 people experiencing homelessness on the night of January 27th of this year. 8,600 sheltered and 2,100 unsheltered. Our unsheltered count did go down. We can attribute this to cold weather shelter that was implemented across the region, as well as a push in the city and county of Denver to move people from unsheltered to sheltered, and a targeted focus across our entire region to really get people connected to shelter. This is the population breakdown. Mostly 2/3 are about adult-only households, and then 30% are families, and our smallest percentage is youth-only, which is that 18 to 24 range. 1 in 3 people are newly homeless. We saw a decrease in the number of people who were newly homeless in our point-in-time count. And I think this holds true year over year. 1 in 3 are experiencing chronic homelessness. Douglas County, 58 people were counted in 2025. That's 30 sheltered, 28 unsheltered. This was an overall decrease from the 2024 point in time, which I believe was 80 people. So really a great push to get people into shelter and to connect with those who were unsheltered. And that is all from me for right now. Any questions or comments?
Well, Sophia, thank you so much. I'll make sure to put microphones on so people online can hear me. But we just want to thank you for joining us. We know that as a region, the Denver metro area is really struggling when it comes to homelessness. And obviously, as a state, we're all deeply concerned with what's happening, so we appreciate the work. Do you have a sense of what your annual budget or maybe what your annual spending on homelessness is? And then where are you deriving a lot of those funds?
Majority of our funding for DCHI specifically is from HUD, so from the federal government. I believe 80% of our funding is from HUD, and so we've been in many conversations recently with Tim Geithner, who was appointed our Region 8 HUD administrator. We're closely monitoring a new NOFO that is supposed to drop, notice of funding opportunity. That'll drop from HUD this month. But yes, a majority of our funding does come from the federal government.
Yeah, how much is that on an annual basis? Do you know?
I would estimate probably 32 million.
Okay, is that somehow we got north of 100 million annually from you, for you guys with HUD, so it's about 32?
Yeah, it's about 32.
Okay, and you're saying for you all, I mean, I know we've been out to DC, met with some of the HUD folks, and then certainly locally. It sounds like as a region for the Denver metro area, even though you're having quite a bit, millions of dollars in spending, unfortunately, it's going up about 30% over the last couple of years, right? Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. Well, I think we're really pleased that we have real-time data on a dashboard, and we're counting it pretty regularly. I think I want to open it up to anybody else that may have some questions for Metro Denver Homeless Initiative. Okay, if not, we'll move to Rand with his official local count. Sophia, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Do we want to take a minute, Commissioner, and let those from online introduce themselves? I see a few people that are online.
We're not seeing it in here, but I think there might be a few folks online. If you all would like to say hello, we're really glad to have you here.
Good morning, Erin White with Manor Resource Center. Sorry, I can't be there in person today.
Good morning, Erin.
Good morning, Jennifer Eby with Douglas County. Also sorry I can't be there.
Hi, Jen.
And good morning, Max Brooks. I'm an alternate for Mayor Jason Gray with the town of Castle Rock.
Good morning.
I think we can move on then.
Okay.
I actually want to say real quick that I know Sasha Eason's on. She can't unmute. So she's with us until 9:30.
Hi, Sasha. We're pleased to have you.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here this morning and to share with you the results of our summer point in time count. First, before I begin, just a great thank you and a debt of gratitude to all that participated in the point in time this year. That includes our nonprofit partners, members of our community that are out helping us gather the data on that night. Special debt of thanks to our municipal partners and their law enforcement. I know a number of local municipal police agencies put in additional resources to help us count. And then to the Sheriff's Department, our HEART team, who were actively out working the point-in-time count this year. Couldn't do it without you, and so thank you for the effort. It's a hard week, it's a long week, but it's something we do twice a year, and we really enjoy it. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the point in time, just a brief overview of what this looks like. We went over this at last month's meeting, but it occurred on the night of July 28th. We do this twice a year. We do it once in the winter in coordination with Metro Denver Homeless Initiative. That's the formal count that gets submitted to HUD every year, and then we do this again in the summertime. It helps us understand trends and patterns from summer to summer, kind of differences between winter and summer, allows us to do it. But we follow essentially the same methodology so that our data is consistent and we can try and really see those changes that occur from season to season. We had 5 HEART teams out there. In addition to our HEART teams, we did some work ahead of time with our mounted patrol, who was out on some of the trails. We did some work with our drone technology to some of the big, broad areas of open space to kind of do a quick scan to see if there's any reason to send a team in to check in on folks. And so we did that as well. Really during the course of the point-in-time count on that Monday afternoon and that Tuesday morning and then into Wednesday, really we're targeting parking lots. We know we've had a lot of people who are experiencing homelessness or living in their cars, and so we look at parking lots, those outdoor spaces, a lot of intersections, looking to see if people who are unhoused might be panhandling. Transit centers, that includes like the Lone Tree bus stops, the light rail and Lone Tree, the bus stops in Highlands Ranch, but focusing on those areas. And then again, really rely on our community partners who oftentimes are that first line of defense, first line of contact for those that come into an agency. We also held our Strive to Thrive event. That's our annual resource fair on Tuesday as a way to encourage people to come out, get resources, also a way for us to chat with folks and to do surveys for those we might missed outside. That was held at Cherry Hills Community Church on that Thursday. We had 370 some odd people, I think, in attendance at Strive to Thrive and over 30 partners there. So it was a great event hosted by Cherry Hills. And so now to, I got to change both slides today. So now to our totals. Our total count for the summertime was 72. You can see the trends. We do trend analysis. We look at that just as a way to sort of gauge big things. We recognize that this number is always in flux. Every day it's in flux as people come in, people leave, people move through. We are a transit corridor up and down the I-25 network. As somebody loses their home today, as somebody experiences homelessness today, or as somebody gets housed today, we know that it changes, but it's our best chance of seeing the data kind of reflected. We did go back all the way to summer 22, which is when we did our first summer count. That was the summer that we launched our HEART team. And so we go back to there to track data to that point. We didn't see any encampments this year. Encampments we account an encampment of any tents of more than 1 tent. So we did not find any large scale encampments, no more than 1 tent anywhere in our community. And then we did want to highlight the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, what's happening in detention. And so last month we heard a wonderful presentation from Sergeant Briggs about what's going on in our detention center around those that are unhoused. And so typically as it relates to the point in time count, those who are in some sort of institutional facility like a jail or a behavioral health facility, they're not included because they're indoors on the night of the count. But we still think it's a number that's valuable for us to kind of put a side note next to. And so with the help of, I see Deputy Duffy here, Son from the reintegration program, and Sergeant Briggs, they did a survey of those that were in detention on that Monday night, and there were 6 that identified themselves as homeless and would have been in Douglas County. So if they weren't in the detention center, they could have very likely been outside or been in our count. And so although they don't count towards the 72, we think it's a good number to track to sort of see the impact that this is having on our detention center and on the services that are provided there by the sheriff. And so we want to show that number up there. Appreciate the partnership we have with the sheriff's office and with the folks in detention to help us keep track of that number. So let's dive down a little bit deeper. The sheltered number. So this is those that are in shelters across Douglas County or associated with Douglas County programs. And so that would include things like Family Trees Goals program, our Douglas County Cares program, those that were in one of our hotel voucher programs over the course of that night. And so we counted those. You can see the trends. We are up from the winter time. We attribute that primarily to the increased capacity at Goals. Paolo, thank you very much for working with us to increase our capacity. I believe we have 5 families there currently and potentially 1 more on their way. I know are they moving in today, Steve? I think Steve says we've got 1 more family moving into Goals today. And so I think in our winter count, we only had 2 families in Goals. And so we've seen the increased utilization of that service, and we've seen the increased capacity that we've been able to obtain with Family Tree. And so very appreciative of that. And that explains a lot of that increase in our sheltered count. As we look at those that are unsheltered, we're going to break this down into kind of 2 subcategories of unsheltered. The first is people that are living in their cars. These are folks that have vehicles that park their cars across the community somewhere in various parking lots, streets, corners, those kinds of things. We've been as high as 43 a few years ago. Seen it dip down, and then we were at the 25 number again this summer. So a few more than we had last summer, a handful more. Primarily, and I want to highlight this if I can, primarily that impact was in Castle Rock. We had a few more folks in their cars in Castle Rock that were identified this summer. I want to say kudos to Parker. I know Parker's been kind of on that list of the highest amount the last few years. And actually Parker saw a reduction in the number of vehicles parked outside in their community over the course of the summer. And so I know they've been working on that as well. About the same in Highlands Ranch, within a couple in Highlands Ranch, and Lone Tree this year had no car parkers. And so we're going to take a chance. This is the first time that they've gotten to the point where we had no car parkers in Lone Tree. That was the first time they've had a handful, couple, 2 or 3 every year. And we've seen that now decrease down to 0 this year on the number of people in their cars. This is a population of interest. We really appreciate all the work that the Heart is doing and our law enforcement partners are doing to obtain no trespassing orders. And we'll talk a little bit about what we see kind of from a big picture in a few minutes, but I know that there's been a significant effort there, and it's making a difference in a few places. And so really appreciative of all the work, but we still have more to go as we look at how do we solve and address the problems with this population. So if we look at those that are sleeping outside, this is the other kind of subcategory of those that are unsheltered that we see in Douglas County. We're down to 4. It's our all-time low. We've had that happen a couple times on our monthly. When we give you our monthly by name data, this is essentially the same. We've kind of, Dante sitting here next to me, we've kind of been in that 4, 5, 6 range on a monthly basis. And so we're back down to our low of 4. And so we've seen that significant decrease. And really, if you look at it from the time the HEART program started with 43 people sleeping outside just a few years ago down to 4, really shows the effort of what's going on. So
I want to pause on
yeah,
that.
go, please.
From a commissioner standpoint, I know for all of you as leaders, this is really meaningful to us. We know that representing 400,000 citizens, what they see visually outside, especially in the winter months with, babies, kids, families outside in different areas, to be at 4 sleeping outside is really significant for this group and certainly for our county. We know that when we're talking about, the total homeless numbers, that includes those that are couch surfing, those that are sort of in between places, those that might be at Goals or at Family Tree, that regional navigation campus eventually. And of course, the car camping is still something that we're really focused on. But I know that from a citizen standpoint, what I hear the most about is, it's intersections, it's underpasses, it's on the side of the road. And we're not seeing that. So I think it's really quite thrilling to see this number. And I think it's worthy of a round of applause to you all. Good job.
Well, it is a community effort. I know the HEART team and our navigators and deputies are on the front lines, but really when they're looking for resources to help folks, so we're going to talk about some of those outcomes, we're really also relying on our community partners that we have, our whether it's our food banks, our service providers, our churches, our faith-based community. We're really looking to them to find those solutions, and excited to even look at some of that here in a minute as well. So,
and you might say this, Rand, too, but I'm anticipating a question. So of that 4, are those the same 4 that would be in the 6, or what does that look like?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Oh, you're going to talk about that? Okay.
Don't steal the thunder yet. Don't steal the thunder yet.
Okay.
It's coming. That's the big slide at the end.
Is it?
Yeah,
okay,
that's the big slide
wow.
at the end. teaser.
It's like fireworks.
We'll be back in 5 minutes
Yeah,
after this
yeah.
commercial message, right?
I know.
So we did break this down by jurisdiction. And so this is all of those. This is outside plus car parkers by jurisdiction. And so 16 in Castle Rock, 8 in Parker, 5 in Highlands Ranch is where we were at this year. I want to recognize Castle Pines, who is typically at kind of 0 or 1 every year. They were at 0 this year. Other unincorporated, so think of that as like Larkspur, Sedalia, up and down like south on the I-25 corridor, kind of those really rural areas of Douglas County. Again, that's usually kind of 0 or 1 every year. And then notably Lone Tree, we did not encounter anybody during the point in time in Lone Tree. And so we're going to take a minute when we're done, I think, and recognize that achievement. But kudos to Lone Tree. We did not find anybody in their car sleeping outside during the point in time count that spent the night in Lone Tree on that Monday night. And so a huge piece there. So that's a lot of data. What do we take from this? So this is sort of we sit there, we've talked about it as a team, we've looked at sort of the data analytics, and I wanted to go back a year to last summer. And I wanted to look at, right, so what's changed since last summer? Worked with Tiffany, so from point in time last summer to point in time this summer, our HEART team had over 1,100 referrals. They contacted 676 people. And so sometimes those referrals are 2 or 3 or 4 referrals for the same person. Sometimes they get that referral, hey, someone's on the street corner, someone's at this intersection, they can't find anybody, so sometimes we're unable to locate. But of those 1,100 referrals, we're able to contact 676 people. Some, a little over 200, said, oh, I need to change that slide. Somebody should have told me. Somebody a little over 200 said, sorry, I don't want any help. And they refused service. That happens. We had 54 where a safety concern was in place. And so typically when there's a safety concern, the navigators are not engaged with them at that time. Usually we need our friends in law enforcement to take control of that situation. And so 54 of those times was a law enforcement action. Some sort of safety concern was in place. But ultimately, out of those 1,100 referrals, the HEART served 331 people during that year. Sophia mentioned over the course of the calendar year last year was about 400. So we're talking summer to summer as opposed to calendar year. But again, their lines typically with what we see the HEART team serving in the course of a year. And this is the big number. 7 were the same as last summer total.
Wow.
7 total of those that were sleeping outside. So those are in their cars, those are sleeping outside. We only had 7 of the same people. And I really look at the effort that is being made in our community to take those 1,100 referrals, those almost 700 contacts, and we only have 7 people who were homeless last summer and still homeless this summer. Now we get a lot of people say, so what happened to them? What happened to all of those people? And over here on the right, 22% were exiting to permanent housing. Like this isn't just, they're just moving from one community to the next or going to permanent housing. 25 are accessing temporary housing. That's like some sort of transitional time limited program, but it gives them a chance to get back on their feet alongside services as that next step. About a quarter, 23% go to emergency shelter. Their next step is to get off the street, out of their car, and to go into emergency shelter. And 24% remain homeless, but they're not remaining homeless here. What we see is that the HEART, when they can engage, that almost 75% of the time, they're able to get somebody off the street, out of their car, and into a place where they've got at least a roof over their head and taking that next step. For some people, that next step might be emergency shelter. For some people, that next step might be transitional. For some people, that next step can be right into housing. But that's a huge impact. If we talk about the HEART and what does it mean for the effort that team is doing, it's this. It's taking those 700 contacts and ensuring that from year over year, we're only seeing the 7 people. And everybody else is being helped out. So
great job, you guys.
Huge effort and a huge impact being made by that team, and I'm really grateful for them. And I think that's what this data tells me. The numbers are the stories. There's a story behind it. Dante will tell some stories later, but it really is about those outcomes that we're seeing and how we're helping people get access to the things that they need. And so with that, I'm happy to entertain questions. I know Commissioner Layden, we wanted to recognize Lone Tree, but I'm happy to answer any questions about this data. Again, appreciate everybody's help and all the efforts that they make in allowing us to get this data put together. So.
Well, Rand, we want to thank you because you have been so passionate and instrumental and seminal to this entire initiative from the very beginning, and it would not be possible without your great work. So we are deeply thankful for you, and it's valuable. Without data, we don't really know where we're at, so we like to pay attention to that, especially as we go into budget season as a county. Questions for Rand? Any questions about the data? You know, one question I had, I mean, we so value our municipal partners, and we're thankful. I think Mayor Gray has been here consistently at virtually all of our meetings, and I think it's so meaningful to have the presence of our cities with us. Do you have a sense of what that trend looks like year over year in terms of that homelessness number by city?
Yeah, I do. In sort of generally, if we go back to that summer of 26 time, so, and I'm just going to give you numbers. Castle Rock, kind of their high has been 16. We saw at the beginning, we saw that again this year, their low has been about 10. So kind of that 10 to 15 number has been their normal number. Highlands Ranch, we've seen when we started this, Highlands Ranch had 20. We've seen them drip as low as 2 and kind of been settled into those kind of mid single digits, 5, 6, 7 for the most part. So kind of been up and down around there. Lone Tree, we've seen that steady decline. Started this at 13, and we've kind of seen them progress lower and lower and lower, down now to 0. Parker had 14 in the beginning. We saw a peak back in 23 when we had a lot of car campers out there. They went up as high as 28, and now they're back down into those single digits again with 8 this year. And then other unincorporated Douglas County, that's really hit or miss. It's basically 0 or 3, kind of. If that was, I think that year that we had 3, we found one group of people in their cars kind of up in the, like almost up towards Deckers. It's like up almost in the mountains. It was where they were camping out at. So again, kind of up and down, generally down, which is really good, or kind of holding in that sort of single digit range. Again, I really think of those numbers, if we look, Commissioner, that 1,100 people that we get referrals on, it is the flow. It's the churn of just people coming through town, whether that's, again, people driving, people coming down from the day from Denver, whether that's, someone in our community who loses their place to live due to a loss of job, that they lose their housing, or a family breakup or divorce, those types of things we see. And it really is that constant cycle. And for us to see, the change of 1 or 2 people on a daily basis is not uncommon. So that's the heart team. That's why Dante shares those numbers on the by name list, because every month, every week, we're talking about everybody by name, and we're really to see over the course of a month who really is in our community. And I'm really pleased actually that the by name data, in terms of the numbers and these numbers align, that means we really have a handle on it every single month, that these numbers are pretty consistent and accurate, and we're seeing that and reporting that as well.
That data is so helpful. Are you able to share that screen or the screen that shows?
My computer is not happy today with sharing, so I can see it here, but we're running the PowerPoint from over there.
Okay, well then maybe let's run the PowerPoint that shows unsheltered by jurisdiction.
Okay, this one here, that one?
Yeah. Team, when we see 0, that is really, we always talk about, what is your why, and beginning with the end in mind. The point is to get to 0, right? Functional 0, or as close to literal 0 as we can. And it's significant to us as a county, not only all of it incorporated, but certainly when our municipal colleagues and partners are able to achieve that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Parker, that was part of the charge last year, is please get that number down from 28, and that's a big trend down to 8. I don't want to forget about Castle Pines, which candidly has been at 1 or 0 nearly the entire time. So Castle Pines is doing absolutely wonderfully when it comes to these counts. But today I know we have some folks from Lone Tree. If you want to join us up here. Great. And if somebody can get them a mic, maybe if you guys wanted to introduce yourselves.
Hello, I'm Commander Brett Callahan. I'm the Operations Commander for Lone Tree PD.
Wonderful.
I'm Lieutenant Scott Vandenberg. I'm the Operations Lieutenant.
Wonderful. Well, and we know your council is on a retreat today, so we really appreciate you guys being here. Lone Tree is not only deeply special to the county, but it's really special to me. It's my home city and my district. And the homeless initiative started in Lone Tree. It's when we found some encampments out there that we said, hey, let's start a homeless initiative several years ago. So for you to get to this number of not just functional 0, but literal 0 is a huge accomplishment. So on behalf of the county, we would like to present your council with some very special Heart Challenge coins and a certificate of recognition. Congratulations. Good job, you guys. Appreciate you. Absolutely. Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah. Great. That is really exciting stuff. And I know we have other municipal representatives here too. Mayor Gray, any thoughts, comments? Not to put you on the spot.
No problem whatsoever, Commissioner. You know, it's overall, we're super happy in Castle Rock as well as a countywide with help from HART and our own CRPD. You know, again, it fluctuates here and there and it goes up and down, right? And we weren't super happy with the 16, but if we did it today, we think it'd be a lot lower. And not to make excuses because next month it might be higher. So it's a constant flow. I would say, as Rand mentioned, most of the people who are homeless, whether they're in their car or camping, are people who are passing through or trying to figure out a way out. We don't have just very seldom do we have somebody who's a resident in Castle Rock and then become homeless and then they're trying to just live in Castle Rock. But with our hard work from our CRPD and our partners here and all around the table, I think we're making consistent good work in Castle Rock.
Yeah, we would agree with that. And, you know, this is our home base here in Castle Rock. We deeply care about you all. And it's a massive city. You got a lot more numbers here in Castle Rock than almost anybody else. So I don't think your numbers are surprising, but we're here with you. We want to partner and provide whatever resources you need to get that number as close to zero as we can. We know you share that view. That's wonderful. Well, thanks to Castle Rock as well. Any other municipal comments or representatives? Okay, well, that's really great news, Rand. Thanks again for sharing all of that. We're going to move on to our legal update from County Attorney Jeff Garcia. Jeff.
Thanks, Commissioner. Can everybody hear me? Yes. So we have some good news. The President recently, on July 24th, put out an executive order that really speaks to the work that we're doing in this room and in the county. Let's move forward a little bit. So on July 24th, an executive order was signed calling for the end of crime and disorder on America's streets. And really what was being addressed is a point in time that the president was discussing from the Biden era where 275,000 people were homeless in the United States. And a great deal of those from the president's order were identified as having substance abuse issues or mental health issues. There have been tens of billions of dollars spent on unsuccessful programs. And it's nice to be able to say that when we talk about some of the successful programs, we can talk about what's happening in this room. We can talk about the work of the people around this table. This order addresses homelessness, but also addresses public safety. Let's move forward. So it's a 6-step process. They are calling for federal agencies to assist local governments, including counties, to address 6 key elements. One is for those who are unable to take care of themselves or a public safety risk. For those individuals who can't take care of themselves or pose a risk to others, they want to remove state and local government roadblocks to civil commitment. That is to say, individuals who need mental health assistance or mental health care, who don't seek that out for themselves, can be assisted to finding that. And also create some flexibility in that so that the laws do relate to the need of the individual and not to a broad or ideological nature. Let's move on to step 2. So redirecting federal funds to go back to those tens of billions of dollars, they really want to invest in systems that work and have outcome-based. But they also want to make sure that they're not funding things that support the problem that they're addressing, which includes open drug use, urban camping. We already have our laws in place regarding that. Squatting, being in someone's home who isn't their own. Adopting standards for people to live safely on the streets. Or they want to support those who enforce the sex offender registry so that people who are a danger to others are identified and getting the help they need or are making public safety a priority. Let's move forward one more. And it's important to talk about that second step because we're doing so much of that. And in the past, where we may not have had federal funding or grant support, we will in the future under this executive order. Removing dangerous individuals from the street. So when there are sex offenders who are on the street, that they're being evaluated for mental health needs and making sure that those individuals do not stay in the public. Emergency funds for encampments, maybe not something that we need, but definitely something the state needs. Increase forensic bed capacity. So those individuals who are being evaluated for mental health needs, there is a place for them to be receiving mental health care and a mental evaluation, and determining whether or not jail or a long-term mental health treatment facility is what's appropriate for them, or if they're even able to be tried at a criminal level. Enhanced release or enhanced reentry plans, which is something that we heard about here a couple months ago about the really great things that we're doing at our jail, and that we're not putting people in the street, but really putting them into a place to get back, to succeed, and not be back in jail and not be back homeless again. Let's go forward. Redirecting resources to effective methods. When I read that, I was like, wow, that's something that we've really been waiting for. We can prove, point in time, the things that we can cite to, that the things that we're doing in Douglas County are, one, can be replicated across the state, across the United States, but also are something that really do show objective numbers of reduction. So the Department of Health and Human Services will stop funding programs for that support the illegal use of drugs, technical assistance for communities that do not have the background or laws in place for committing individuals with mental health needs, and crisis intervention centers, right? This is something we've talked about in this room, we've talked about in the Opioid Council. This is something that we've talked about as something that stops a short-term problem becoming a lifelong problem. And then expansion of drug and mental health courts. Well, shoot, we're talking about that in the 23rd, right? As we're talking about the Justice Center, and we're talking about having our own judicial district, mental health courts, drug courts are something we're talking about. The federal government saying that's something we want to fund. So that's amazing that we have that support. HUD and the Department of Human Services are going to end the Housing First grant model, which is something that's really been an impediment to our approach. We are always been a Housing Plus, that we are intervention based, that we meet people where they are and what their needs are, whether that's transportation, mental health needs, physical health needs, people are injured and can't get the medical needs they need, or just getting to the place in the world where they have their support. So Housing First. Creating a place for a person to stay is no longer the primary requirement. Increasing grant standards and competition, I think that's great, because there's a lot of people who may have been left out of the process who have wonderful ideas and wonderful programs, and now they're invited to be part of it. And then A.G. Bondi has been a great advocate for really holding people accountable. And so places that make it safe or say it's appropriate for you to use illegal drugs is something that the federal government is going to target. We don't have that in the county, but it is something that I think will be prioritized by the federal government. Increased accountability for homeless programs. So frequently, programs may be funded and aren't reporting those positive outcomes that we're able to report here. So appropriate standards for meeting mental health and substance abuse needs. Funding for children and women, children and women in specific shelters and intervention, separate housing for sexual offenders, and collecting health information so that we are able to better understand the problem that's being addressed, and that we're not guessing at what that solution should look like. And that's very important. One more?
I think it's
random and hand it off to you.
So I appreciate that, Jeff. There's a lot in this that aligns with what we've been doing, and I want to take just a brief chance after Jeff had a chance to kind of look at the legal implications and sort of the overall bill, talk kind of programmatically where this puts us. We really do think this supports our co-response model. This idea of pairing navigators alongside law enforcement personnel to ensure safety on our streets is absolutely at the heart of what this executive order is about that public safety element. And we've been doing this now for 3 years. And so I think this gives us a great opportunity to continue to support that model of compassion and code enforcement. It also then, I think, talks to, Commissioner Layden, you talk about all the time how this was born out of the CRT and this co-response model that then also includes mental health. And I think this charges us to even more strategically look at how we can utilize the HART and the CRT together as to then address not just the housing needs, but then this mental health piece as we talk about public commitment and the other mental health behavioral strategies. It really is part of what we've been doing, going back to the CRT even, to say the importance there. And then another thing that we do all the time is this calls on reentry programs to develop the housing release plans. Jeff mentioned the report that Sergeant Briggs gave us last week. That's in the order, actually saying that they have to have those reentry plans. Just this week, I think it was Tiffany and Sergeant Durrell met with Sergeant Briggs and the staff in the detention to even be more strategic and to take that up another level in terms of how we can support those folks who are being released, to make sure that we really have a firm housing shelter plan for everybody coming out of detention, so that we've got an option. They know where they're going, they know what their needs are. And so we think that's great. It aligns with our blueprint. Obviously, this ending of housing first is of tremendous importance to us. It increases what we have as those kind of three legs underneath of accountability and well-being, along with personal growth and development. That's been our approach to this all along, and that's exactly what this does. The order, says just, kind of no holds barred housing first policies that deprioritize accountability and fail to promote treatment, recovery, and self-sufficiency has to happen. And then it further goes on to say that they need to increase competition amongst grantees, broadening the applicant pool and holding grantees to a higher standard of effectiveness. We've shown that effectiveness. And that really leads to this last thing. I know Sophie in her presentation said that they're eagerly awaiting the HUD-NOFA. We are too. We have applied to that, to be quite frank, for years, and have consistently either been scored very low or not even considered, because we have not agreed to commit to a housing first model, number one, or because they prioritize existing projects. And so we are certainly advocating not only to be able to apply for certain types of programs that will benefit our community, that will allow us to take a housing plus approach, but will also potentially open the door where 90% of the grant has gone to existing projects. Every year, 90% goes to existing projects. We are really advocating that that percentage be lowered, and that more opportunity is taken for new applicants. And so we have met with our lobbyists at the federal level to start having those conversations, but we certainly feel that this is the iron is hot to strike to try and get some of this new funding for our programs. One highlight, we just, Commissioner, the board on Tuesday just allowed us to apply for some money at the state for rapid rehousing. That is the tool we need to address the car campers. The car campers, they feel safer in their car than they do in emergency shelter, and they're probably not quite ready yet for permanent housing. But a rapid rehousing program is somewhere around 12 to 18 months with accountability, with support, with program in place where we can help them take that move from their car into an apartment. But then after a year, 18 months, they've got to do it on their own. And so it gives us a clock ticking where we've got to see those outcomes. We've got to see that change, and we provide the support to do it. And those are the types of programs, I think, that if we can get those solutions in place, then we have a chance to then maybe go after those folks that are living in their cars and provide them with a solution for their housing problem, not just their parking problem, which is really what we want to see in the end of this. And so hopefully this will open the door to, I'll be honest with you, we've got the model. And so let's continue to demonstrate that. Let's advocate for funding for it and show what we're doing and highlight what we're doing and continue the effectiveness that we had. So happy to share the order with everybody. We'll make sure Melody sends out a copy of that order if people want to read it more. There's more to come, but it's definitely going to be moving fast, and there's a lot yet to be determined. I think, Jeff, it directs the federal directors to do things, and they haven't done them yet. So we'll continue to monitor it and try and understand what those implications are. I'm certainly looking forward to the NOFA and seeing how quickly those changes are being made. So
it's been about 3 weeks, and we move real fast in Douglas, and I can't say that everybody else does. So it's hard for them to keep up with us, but we're going to make sure that we're the front line.
But the president last week ordered a change in how they address it in Washington, D.C. And so I think the evidence right now at the federal level of the president's intent to move this direction is certainly being put into not just policy, but into practice as well at a fairly quick clip.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible news. And, I often say when you look at jurisdictions like San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, beautiful cities that unfortunately have really suffered through years of failed policies, and it's failed policies. Continuing to invest in programs that ultimately result in an increase in homelessness is certainly not how we do things in Douglas County. When we've gone to the White House, and so we met with Ben DiMarzo at HUD, he's the Assistant Deputy Secretary of HUD. Our whole comment this last year was we got to end housing first. It must be housing plus. Housing without case management is pointless. And we've heard that from the experts for years, from Jack Briggs, who runs the Colorado Springs Rescue Mission, and many others. We get trauma informed. You got to have housing, but it's housing plus wraparound care out of the gate that has some accountability to it. And I'm really proud of this group because we have not arrested our way out of homelessness. We have led with the 4 C's, beginning with compassion, and Heart has been so great about always leading with the dignity of their name. Who are you? How are you? How can we serve? How can we help? And a lot of people don't realize much of what you do is right here locally in Douglas County with housing vouchers, hotel vouchers, work with the faith-based community. But because our percentages are so low, having partners like Goals and the Aurora Navigation Campus is certainly significant. I know one challenge, I don't mean to beat up on you, Sophia, but I have met with Jason several times and he's wonderful. But what we've said is, you know, out of that $30 million, Douglas County has received a total of 0. So part of what we're hoping to do is have a win-win. You know, I'm a 5th generation Coloradan. I was born in Denver, Rose Medical. I want to see Denver succeed. We are part of the Denver metro area. So it is really I think a shared vision to try to find a way to reduce numbers overall. We're currently vice chair of the metro area county commissioners. And what I've shared with the other 7 counties is twofold. One is got to have co-response, right? And co-response isn't just 2 clinicians going out together late at night by themselves. It's really having that law enforcement component with you. So to the extent we can identify some additional federal funding to support not only Douglas County, but the other metro area counties to get co-response, I think it could be a phenomenal future step for us. I think the other big thing I want to do is applaud the citizens of Douglas County legitimately, because what we have done is this handouts don't help campaign, which has never been to say don't give money, but it's to redirect that generosity to the community foundation where 100% of those donations go right back out to food banks and those who are caring for citizens that are facing homelessness. So citizens listen to that. And what's been wild, I mean, we have one of the best sheriffs we could ever possibly have. And part of the philosophy has been panhandling at street corners is not safe for that person or the person in vehicles. It can impede traffic, cause problems on the roads. And our citizens have said, hey, we're not going to roll down those windows anymore and hand money out of our car window. We're going to donate to that community foundation. And it's amazing. I mean, it's an ultra complex issue, but the panhandling has dried up in virtually every municipality. And I would challenge anybody to go just drive around our county to any city and you are not going to see it out there. And when you do, we have great citizens that reach out to the Heart team. We now have a text line where hopefully you're getting more texts now. In addition to, I'm seeing some nodding heads. The citizens are liking texting. But these guys will show up almost immediately. I mean, it's pretty darn fast how quickly you guys arrive on scene. So great partnership with law enforcement, first responders, all the nonprofits, and our amazing cities. It's really been quite exciting. But next steps, I mean, what do the next steps look like for us, Jeff, on this?
If there's anything that we can do at the county level while they're still working this out, is really making some of these things that we know our county is identified for doing more, not unspoken, but just outward expressed. So things like squatting. Nope, we can make that very clear that that's not permitted in our county. Open use, things like that, where we know that doesn't happen here, but we want the federal government to know it doesn't happen here. So we can give them a document that says that. So we're gonna start documenting some policies and make sure that when it comes time for us to apply for grants or apply for support, there is no question that we meet these.
It's wonderful.
If I could, in speaking with our lobbyists, I think the next step is to, I think, Commissioner, ask you and to see if you would recommend our board put together a letter of support for what we're doing and to highlight the great work of this initiative that our lobbyists can use to find alliance, to find partnership, and to advocate for support at the federal level as these policies are then implemented at the federal level. And so in talking with them, I think some sort of package piece that we could put together from our board that then they could use back in DC as a really great next step, again, to share the success of what's going on here, to put pen to paper, to highlight some of these stories of success of the great work that's happening, and to leverage that to maybe form alliances and partners with others who have a similar mindset and want to see similar things happen in their community to hopefully influence how some of this is actually executed at the federal level as the directors put things together?
Yeah, well, I would defer that decision to you all as members of this committee, members of this board. If you have interest in making a motion to direct staff to draft correspondence to support this executive order at the federal level, I'd certainly entertain that motion.
So moved.
Great. Thanks, Dan. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Great. We got a first and second. Thank you, Sheriff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. That sounds great. You got your marching orders, Rand.
We're already working on it.
I know, you're probably already ahead of us. So
We're already working on it, but
they did make it official.
That's an easy next step.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Any other questions on this?
Does Dan, I think Dan.
Yeah, Dan. Yeah, please.
I have a question, just in terms of the mental health part. From Sophia's presentation, showed 1 in 3 identified as having mental health issues. And I saw something about civil commitments in and having grown up with a schizophrenic sister, I'm always interested in that side of things. And Rand's report showed a number of people who refuse any help. And I don't know if you have any sense of how many of those who refuse help are dealing with mental health issues, but I'm wondering if they're being able to commit someone, went away, right, in the late 70s. Is that something that's coming back? And if so, is there anywhere for them to be committed to? Because all those places have pretty much closed down. So I'm just curious about that side of things, because in my mind, if people who are clearly in need of mental health help, if they could be, forcibly, you're going to get help anyway, whatever that looks like. That would certainly help in the overall scheme of things, right? So just wondering about that.
And I can answer that one. So in order for us to facilitate what's called an M1 hold, a 72-hour mental health hold, we have to have what equates to probable cause to believe at that moment during the time of contact, they're an immediate threat of self-harm or homicidal ideation. And so the officer has to determine right then and there, if they say, well, I was suicidal last week, that doesn't meet the threshold. It has to be right then, there. And it's very easy for us to do once we establish that, but we have to establish it. But I know they're doing the best that they can when they're making those contacts.
And I would just add, that's a really important historical footnote. Obviously in the 60s during the Kennedy administration, when so many of the mental health facilities were shut down, it was a result of abuses of that system. An important measure, but we lost a lot of resources when it came to mental health for those that were doing the right thing. And so now we're playing a lot of catch up, and I really have to applaud the CARE Compact through the Mental Health Initiative in Douglas County. Just got the national award from National Association of Counties this last year for the work they do within the CARE Compact. And it's a consortium of, north of 20 nonprofit governmental agencies that all work together to navigate people through the mental health system when there is a crisis. The co-responder teams have been phenomenal. Before, when people might call 911 because you have somebody threatening or maybe not rising to the level of a criminal issue, but posing some mental health issues within the home, you'd call 911, it becomes a criminal issue. Co-response team is really providing a lot of diversions from the emergency rooms out of the county jail into services. And one thing we're working on both at the Opioid Council, the Healthy Families Initiative, and at the county level is this notion of a crisis stabilization unit. And I always say, easy to remember, it's CSU, not rah-rah CSU, like the school I went to, I'm very proud of, but the crisis stabilization unit. So that if you go into the emergency room with a broken arm, but you're also, you're recovering from a benzo or stepping down from, substance use disorder, maybe dual diagnosis with a mental health issue, you can get transferred to a co-located facility where you're getting inpatient and outpatient mental health and substance use disorder care right there. So I think part of it is an ongoing work that we're doing as a county. What would you add, Rand?
So I think, Dan, to your question, easy to turn off funding for, say, harm reduction sites. Much harder to restore a civil commitment process. And so I think a lot of that that's one of the things that's going to take some time, that's going to take some advocacy. To the sheriff's point right now on what it looks like to put somebody in M1, it's interesting in the order, it goes beyond that. It says, and I'll just read from the order, it says, the policy of engaging civil commitment of individuals with mental illness who pose risk to themselves, but it goes beyond that to say, or the public, but now even farther, or are living on the streets and cannot care for themselves in appropriate facilities for appropriate periods of time. So I think what's going to be interesting to follow, and we just don't know yet, is how we're going to go from the current state around M1s and what's there currently to then how they incorporate some of this other direction around caring for themselves in an appropriate facility. So think somebody who has a mental illness that I remember one time I had a story of a person, he was mentally ill, he had keys to a house, but he wouldn't live in the house, he kept living outside. That type of scenario, right? Like, how do we then work towards that? So I think there's a lot, and Sheriff, certainly happy to, it's gonna evolve, I don't know what to yet. I'm just reading from the order, so.
Sure, and to that extent, for us on the front end to deal with that issue, because what you're doing is taking somebody's liberty away. You're actually taking them into physical custody, and that threshold is much higher. It's much easier to connect them with those services than force them.
Yeah. So I think it's gonna evolve, and we're gonna have to follow it, I think, is probably the most important thing. But right now, probably not a big change today. But
yeah, we're really lucky to have the Director of Human Services here, Ruby Richards. Did you have some thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to address the other comment that you made, Dan, about are there facilities and beds in these facilities for people to go to? And that is a real struggle, especially here in Colorado. Our agency mostly deals with trying to find placements for youth who have significant mental health concerns and are unable to live in their family home. And it is a real struggle. We're seeing kids stuck in the hospital, stuck in county offices because there are not appropriate placements. So I know the Behavioral Health Administration is really focusing on that. They call it a high acuity youth work group, who's looking at how can we increase inpatient, but also have really appropriate and strong outpatient services, because that's the key, is you can stabilize them inpatient, but then if you don't wrap them around with strong services once they come out, in no time, you're right back where you started.
Yeah, I just, since, I guess my real question is there a way for Douglas County to sort of lead the charge in that situation in terms of, even if we had beds available here and could we, I don't know how the laws work, but could we have a law that said the sheriff could, in that situation, take them to a facility at least for evaluation or something, and lead the charge a little bit that way too?
Yeah, Dan, we think the CSUs are a really good start, and we want to pilot that with youth. So, a young person that has suicidal ideation at 4 a.m. and the parents don't know what to do, if they get taken to the hospital, they'll get diverted to hopefully inpatient behavioral health care co-located at a hospital. So if they are, at risk of harming themselves or they have an injury, they can also be treated on the physical health care level as well. But I think that's the next frontier, and we'd really welcome your input and any involvement on that next front for us. It's important for the county. So thanks.
Commissioner, could I, you mentioned earlier the CRT. Leandra, could I ask that Leandra maybe share her comments? She texted me some ideas from the Mental Health Collaborative and from the Care Compact.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Just come up to the podium, Leandra, or join us at the table or something.
Leandra presented to us on the Care Compact, so.
Thanks for inviting me, Rand. I just wanted to share a little bit about what's currently happening within the Douglas County Mental Health Collaborative, led by our wonderful Laura Cianconi, who's the manager of our mental health division under Human Services. Right now, we're actually, we have a work group that's focusing on involuntary commitments and how to better support that process so individuals who do have serious mental illnesses are not languishing in their family homes or in the community without services. And so we are actually working on fine-tuning some of those processes. We have stakeholders, 50 plus stakeholders who are part of that group, including the 23rd Judicial District and our state court administrator's office. So we're actually we've been working on that for about a year now, and we're very close to piloting something where we can better support individuals who are on commitments and also support the process to helping them get there in a more proactive way. So just wanted to share a little bit about that. And as Commissioner Layden said, the CARE Compact is a care coordination program, which we're hoping to also support individuals through that process by coordinating the different partners to ensure that folks are really well wrapped, including with housing as well as mental health services and other things to help them be successful and stay safe. So just want to share a little bit of that update since that aligns very well with some of what's going on here.
We love that. And you know, this work has been going on the mental health front in the county for a while. But the thing that we've noticed from a commissioner level is that disconnect between really amazing services and knowledge about it. And I always call it the neighbor rule. Like if you just went home and asked your 3 neighbors on your block, have you heard of the CARE Compact? You know, they probably would say no. And so they're doing phenomenal work, and part of our job, we have a really wonderful communications director, Caroline Frizzell, awesome communications department. We're really going to try to ramp up the knowledge and communications around those services so that the average citizen, if you ask them, they know where to go. We worked really hard on the 988 legislation with our federal and state partners several years ago. 3-digit mental health line, right? Instead of calling 911, if it's strictly mental health, call that number, you will have access to confidential care. In the same respect, I think the co-responder team, if it can be more community referral based, that is also what we're working on. Keep in mind, HEART came from the co-response team. And now HEART has leapt ahead a little bit on community referral. They're text and call, and people know about them. So I think the hope is to get co-response teams on the mental health side to a more community referral basis, just so people know that it exists. Yeah, Ruby has a plan. It's good. It's good.
Commissioner, there's one other thing that I got reminded is families can also, if they're running into this area that they can't force a commitment for law enforcement to take, families can petition the courts for a court order to have that person taken into custody and force that treatment as well. But again, that has to be approved by a judge.
That's a great comment. Thank you, Sheriff. Really good discussion, guys. With that, I'm going to move on to the executive committee member updates and ask you all for any updates from our executive committee.
I can start. Sasha had to hop off, so I want to cover her updates. 80 Works will be participating in the Metro-wide virtual and in-person job fairs during Workforce Development Month next month. Please join us if you are hiring, please join us if you're hiring. Virtual will be on Premier Virtual Platform on September 4th, and in person at Centerpoint Plaza will be September 16th. Additionally, we are also hosting a Veteran and Spouses Networking event on September 4th at 80 Works in Castle Rock. We are seeking businesses that would like to provide career information and feedback on elevator pitches. So let us know if you're interested in that. 80 Works is once again working with the South Metro Denver Chamber and Arapahoe Community College to host the 4th Annual Workforce Innovation Conference. This is on September 24th in the afternoon at Arapahoe Community College. The theme this year is building workforce resiliency through talent, team, and technology. Confirmed speakers include OEdit, Aurora South Metro SBDC, the State Demographer, as well as ACC and 80 Works to discuss upskilling programs. Registration deadlines are on our website calendar. Also, the Air and Space Palooza event in June, a couple months ago, saw nearly 1,000 attendees. This free event was in partnership with the City of Centennial, the South Metro Denver Chamber, and Denver South. The event had an array of interactive exhibits and demonstrations, including live drone soccer matches, flight simulators, and aerospace stations. So, yeah, that's it.
Well, please share with Sasha, we love 80 Works, and we always say the best form of welfare is not a government check, it is a job. And we're really thankful because we know our heart team is connected with you all now, and where there are those able-bodied individuals that are just can't pay rent and just trying to get to that next stage, you guys are a great connector. So thank you for all of that wonderful work. Other executive committee member updates? Okay. I do see 2 items here about Link and Tessa. Did anybody want to cover those? Or
Yeah, I got them, but I figured I'd let everybody else go first,
okay,
please.
sounds good. And I'll just check online. Anybody online with an executive committee update?
I will check in, but while I'm talking, we'll double check, but I don't see anything right now. So, really briefly, for those of you that don't know, the county launched a couple of months ago an exciting new transit service in the Highlands Ranch area. This was hot off the heels of an incredibly successful program that was been running in Lone Tree now for almost 10 years, and really on a debt of gratitude to what they've done there. The service area, well, give you an idea, it's a rideshare model, so think like Uber on steroids in that area. We've got special options for those who are 60 plus or disabled. We've got wheelchair vehicles. The hours of operations are on there. We've got green vans that are operated by Lone Tree, kind of within Lone Tree, and then burgundy colored vans around Highlands Ranch and in and out of Lone Tree, so you'll see them rolling around. That's our service area. So Lone Tree off to the right, Highlands Ranch off to the left, but you can get anywhere within that zone free of charge for anybody within our community. Riders down to the age of 13 can access the services and grab some rides. I'm excited to report we're actually going to fill in the MacArthur Ranch sort of gap there here in the next, probably within the next month. We'll be adding MacArthur Ranch to the service area. We'll be able to negotiate that at no additional cost. And there's a couple of, there's a couple particular services for older folks in that community that we want to make sure they have access to. So we're going to be adding that new bonus.
Well, and we have already had north of 5,000 rides, which with an average score of like,
look at that,
4.9. There it is.
There it is.
Total? 6,756 Rand.
Last month.
Wow.
Average ride rating of 4.9. Rides are about 10 minutes long. Takes about 15 minutes, so plan on trying to request your drive about 20 minutes before you need to get out there. Doing the rides per driver hour means every driver is averaging about 3 trips per hour, 3 unique trips per hour. And then already going up. Somebody said, wow, like when do we reach capacity? Actually, capacity for the program is still about another 4,000 or 5,000 trips away in terms of what we think the capacity is. So there's still room to grow. We've got 18 vehicles that are available to us. And so it's growing, it's coming. Super grateful for our friends at VIA who operate, and again for the town of the city of Lone Tree who's helped us pilot this. But it's been a resource if you're I know I've talked to Erin White, some of her residents that access services at Man are using this to get there. And so it's been a tremendous benefit to even those that we serve here. Great service. If you need the app, there's a QR code, or if you go to Douglas County's website, douglas.co.us, you can grab, just search for Link and you can find everything you need. So I wanted to give that update if you hadn't heard about it yet. And then also Tessa. Steve is going to give that real quickly, real briefly on Tessa. We've heard from them in the past, but we're excited because they're about ready to cut their ribbon and move in, right, Steve?
That's right, yeah. So we are excited, and for those of you who haven't heard about Tessa yet, just quick introduction to them. Tessa's been serving Colorado Springs and the surrounding areas since 1977 with exceptional services to those who have experienced intimate partner violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, and stalking. Tessa was selected as the Douglas County Safe House operator due to their extensive experience in managing DV shelters, comprehensive program offerings, and strong partnership with both law enforcement and community organizations. Their mission is to help individuals and their children achieve safety and well-being while challenging communities to end sexual and family violence. And to accomplish this mission, Tessa will provide shelter residents with a continuum of care locally here that includes an array of supportive services that promote long-term stability and economic stability as well. So to get into their services, this continuum of care helps them ensure that survivors have received the right supports at the right times. Residents will have access to a 24/7 crisis line. And I just got a note this morning that their new local number is active, so we'll be getting that out to everyone here shortly. But their current Colorado Springs number does work and will be available to residents as well, will still be active. The newly expanded emergency shelter will be available to our residents, crisis intervention support, legal advocacy, counseling, and safety planning, all delivered through a trauma-informed lens, which we know is very important. Beyond immediate needs, safety needs, Tessa's team will work with individuals and families to develop a personalized plan to achieve long-term self-reliance and economic stability. This includes helping survivors navigate housing solutions, as well as connecting them with vital community resources such as employment programs like AD Works, healthcare, and other community supports. The goal is to empower each survivor not only to recover from the crisis, but to thrive in the future. Yeah, so we are very excited to announce that the grand opening of the newly remodeled Domestic Violence Safe House will occur this month. Hopefully, they'll be available to start accepting clients in the coming weeks here. This is all made possible through the collaborative effort of Douglas County, Tessa, and many dedicated local partners. In the weeks leading up to this ceremony, we have been conducting a supply drive for the shelter, and we're deeply grateful for all the partners who have volunteered as collection sites for that. Some are in the room here today, so thank you. Several locations have already contacted Tessa staff to have their boxes picked up as they're overflowing with donations, which is just a wonderful sign of support from our community for this effort. So we'd love to invite you to join us to the ribbon cutting that'll be taking place on August 27th at 9:30 on the lawn out in front of the Wilcox building here. And we're just excited to celebrate with everyone that day, this new step in our domestic violence services here locally. So happy to answer any questions and to celebrate with you guys soon.
Great. Well, Stephen, thank you so much. And this has been a passion project for Board of County Commissioners for several years now. We're very excited to have this ribbon cutting. I will say that the location is not 301 Wilcox Street. That is the location of the ribbon cutting, but the actual facility is in a confidential, undisclosed location to keep the safety and security of those facing domestic violence private. So, but please join us.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody. We are moving right on time. We will. Yeah, we are very excited. I know we are excited about crisis serving. It's all interconnected. And, you know, you all, I invite all of you to put your commissioner hat on. For me, sitting on 17 boards, I always see the synergy between all of the different initiatives and the work that we're all doing together. And it's all related. You know, having a crisis services location for HART to be able to refer to is interconnected with domestic violence and homelessness. It's just so interrelated. So really exciting stuff. I'm going to open it up for any public comment. Oh my goodness, Dante, we cannot, HART, we got to do the HART update. It's like, I know, the most important report from us. Dante.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so I'll go real quickly. So last month in July, we had 36 new clients enrolled in our HART program. 38 were exited. And of that 38, 8% were put into permanent housing. Panhandling calls were 6. One was in like they lived in like not in the county, and one was not homeless. And currently we have 0 active encampments. This is also some good data too. So in last month, HART received 190 referrals. We also received 32 phone calls from the public and 50 incoming text messages with 24 conversations, which is super cool. It's a cool little thing that we do, so I kind of like it. All right, moving forward. We have had 12 business engagements, and we had some HART activities. So we attended as HART the Douglas County's 4th of July parade and the county fair and rodeo parade. We also presented with the Crisis Center and the Health Alliance about ongoing efforts of the Douglas County Homeless Initiative and the positive impact that HART is making in our community. We've also completed the annual 2025 Summer Pit Point in Time on the night of July 28th. with the assistance of our local law enforcement partners, nonprofit agencies. We targeted parking lots, outdoor spaces, transit centers to survey different unhoused populations. So thank you for everybody for that. Next is the by name list data. So we have a total of 66 people unhoused in July. 36 were sheltered, 25 were sleeping in vehicles, and 5 were sleeping outside. So of that breakdown, if you want to break that down, at 36 sheltered, 5 were singles, 4 were veterans, and 8 households, totaling 27 people, were sheltered. 25 people in those vehicles, 3 were veterans and 22 were singles. Of the people sleeping outside, all were singles, with just 1 being a veteran. So this is just the trends of people sleeping outside starting from summer of 2024 to July. These are those trends of people sleeping outside. We have had 5 sleeping outside in July. So we've recently started. So this is also just showing the enrollments over a 13-month trend of people enrolling into our HEART program as well. And this is also a graph of households receiving one or more service. And I think it's important for me to just say this really briefly, is when we talk about one or more services, we talking about case management, like that housing plus piece, right? The case management, which is creating plans that we collaboratively work together with our clients. We're talking about food, getting them connected to food and clothing with Help and Hope. They help us a lot with that. Mental health support. I want to shout out Greg. I want to shout out the Care Compact because Greg is our resident mental health expert. So I want to shout him out real quick. We all have mental health first aid training and stuff like that, but he's our guy. Also, we do a lot of one home enrollments. So that those types of things, getting them connected to housing solutions, right? So these are when we talk about services, these are the services that we provide to people. Next. These are the services. So in July, we've done 215 services. Now, these are the call types that we received from our referrals. So we had 190 referrals in July. 29% of the referrals were in Highlands Ranch, 18 were from Parker, 20 was from Castle Rock, 20 were from Lone Tree, 7 from Castle Pines, and 6 from Inglewood. And these are some of the exits that we've had. 38 clients were exited in July, 8% exit to permanent housing, 13 to emergency shelters, 37 to temporary housing, 37 to temporary housing, 13% remain homeless but out of the county, 29% were exited due to no contact. And when we say no contact, that means we're out in the community, right? So for a 2-month period, we like to at least make 2 contacts per month. And if we can't do that, we exit them because they might have left the county. So that's why we exit them due to no contact. And last but not least, we have a quick story. I want to share it on behalf of our amazing Alyssa. So there was a family who was temporarily sheltered in a motel with support from our nonprofit partners. Although they owned a vehicle, it had broken down and was left in a parking lot. Our heart navigator, our amazing heart navigator, Alyssa, was able to speak with them and provide an additional 3 nights with a hotel voucher. And she assisted them in getting connected with a local automotive repair shop to get their car fixed. During that time, Alyssa discussed long-term solutions, including the GOES family shelter program through Family Tree, which they had to leave, so I want to shout them out too. After 3 initial nights at the shelter, the family used their own income to secure additional lodging while they're working with our HEART team to establish a more stable housing plan. The family was case managed, and they had case management. They were brought to our weekly case conferencing meeting that Steve, Melody, and I, and a lot of our partners here attend. And we were able to put in a referral to goals, and the family was encouraged to attend the facility tour. So they went to the tour, and they completed that the next day after the case conferencing meeting. 3 days after the tour, the family was accepted into the GOALS program and successfully moved in. And now they remain housed and are actively working with the GOALS program with case management to, better their situation and gain more stability. So I just think that's super cool. And I think that just shows like the work that we're all doing in this room to make a good story like this happen. We're also happy to share that. So I'll share that.
Well, we want to highlight the good work that you are doing. Dante, you are awesome. And I know, it's so amazing that most people don't realize Dante and most of all the navigators have advanced degrees. They're pursuing advanced education, additional certifications. I mean, these folks are experts in their field. And Dante, we are so lucky to have your expertise. I think we all feel your passion. All of you, just the care and concern you have for our community is really powerful. And it doesn't happen without you. And you're also collecting great data for us, which is outstanding. So thank you. Great job. We're right on time. We got 2 minutes to spare. I will open it up for any either questions for Dante or any public comment. Any public comment? Not seeing any public comment in the room. Any public comment online? Okay, so with 2 minutes to spare, thank you all so much for a wonderful Homeless Initiative meeting. Enjoy the rest of your day.